Leadership matters. And to be able to recognize it, you need to invest in it, and we're starting that today. Let's go. From my experiences and my history, leadership matters because of 4 primary characteristics. We're going to talk about those first. The first aspect of leadership is that it sets the culture. This can apply at work, this can apply in your life, politics, whatever it is. To me, it'll come across the same. Leadership sets the culture. Whatever the people at the top of our organization are doing, the people who are in your orbit, our politicians, our leaders, whoever those people may be, how they behave, the culture that they create is going to determine how everyone else interacts with each other. So leadership, for me, the first thing that matters to it is that it sets the culture. Bad leaders, bad culture. Good leaders, good culture. That is the first. Good leadership sets the culture. After a culture is set, people need a direction. They need a vision, which is number 2, vision. You have a good culture and you have people that are willing to do what needs to get done in whatever aspect of your life that it is. Now that you need a vision, everyone needs to look in the same direction. They need to have the same fundamental core belief in where we're going. And that needs to be provided by the people that you follow or the people that you look up to. Or if you are a leader or an aspiring leader, then you need to set that vision. The third element of why leadership matters is empowerment. You can have a great culture, you can have a great vision, but if the people around you, the people you work with, are not empowered to participate, or they think that their opinion, their effort, their beliefs don't matter to the outcome or to the future, you will never succeed. I don't care what it is, you will not succeed. They need to be empowered and a part of the solution, not a tool or a resource that is used to drive an outcome. The fourth one on why leadership matters is resiliency. When you have a good culture and a vision and empowered people, they will be more resilient to the hard times, to the challenges and the struggles and the fights and the things that are going to happen, the losses that you are going to face, the black eyes that you are going to get. If you do not have those other 3 components, you will not have resiliency. And the second you come across a struggle, you will fail because you did not give those other 3 leadership principles to the people that look up to you. Creating a culture, having a vision, empowering your people will create resiliency. And with those 4 things, you will succeed and things will be better in your orbit, your organization, or whatever application of leadership applies to you from this video. So leadership matters to create a culture, a vision, to empower people, and to create resiliency so that you can overcome whatever obstacles you might face in your application of leadership. There is a lot of awesome leadership content out there, and I am not going to get into a how-to guide on what it takes to be a good leader. This is building blocks and fundamental philosophy that you can apply to your life and make sure that you can start recognizing these characteristics so you can start your own path. A good leader has a couple of common characteristics that we're going to address. To me, the first is humility. If you work for someone or you are following someone and they do not have any sense of humility, they will not inspire their teams. They have to be able to look at themselves and understand that they don't know everything. They don't know the best approach. They don't know the best strategy to take. And they have to have the humility to look at their teams and resources at their disposal and trust them, empower them to come up with a solution. If they can't do that, they don't have that sense of humility, you will go nowhere. Because it is a firm belief to me, and I've seen it through 20 plus years of my professional career and even longer in my personal life where I've had opportunities to speak whether it's through academia or other aspects of my life. That sense of humility and being able to step back and embrace those around you is absolutely key to leadership. So that is one characteristic of a good leader. Next is integrity. They have to be someone who says something, but they keep their word. They follow through. They keep their promises. So a leader without integrity, again, you're going to lose your audience. You're going to lose your momentum and the belief in you and what you do, and it's going to create fragmentation in wherever you may be. So they have to have integrity. They have to keep their promises. They have to be consistent. With that, the next one makes a lot of sense. It's agility, or their ability to adapt. A lot of leaders will come in and have to make hard decisions. I do not discredit that. That is a part of leadership. It's the burden of command. If you haven't read that book, go check it out. But part of that burden of command, part of that burden of leadership is having to make difficult decisions. Not going to take away from that, not going to discredit it. However, if a leader comes in with a plan or a strategy and they are so steadfast and stoic on it, and they're not willing to adapt their philosophies or their principles based on the information that is being shared to them, again, they will not see success. And it won't be because their plan might be wrong. It's because they haven't empowered the teams to come along for the ride, to invest in the vision so that they can believe. So leaders have to be adaptive. They have to be agile. They have to consume information and process it and then make an informed decision. That is how they're going to get the buy-in. They cannot come out and say, this is what we're doing. I don't care what you do now. I don't care how you've done it before. This is your new reality. That is wrong. That will not succeed. So leaders have to adapt. The last one, perhaps the most important, it is incredibly important to me, and we'll talk about how I apply this later, is accountability. A leader comes in, they create their culture, they're empowering their people, they have a vision, they can be humble, they can have integrity. All of those things are just words until there is follow-through. So if you make a statement publicly, or you make a commitment to your teams, or to shareholders, or your friends, or whoever it may be, and you are not accountable to it, and they are not holding you accountable to it, it's going to fall apart. It will not succeed. So good leaders, they're humble, they have integrity, they adapt, and they hold people accountable, including themselves. So how do you identify a bad leader? This is going to be the most important part of this conversation, because being a good leader and working for good leaders is easy. Being affiliated or supporting a bad leader, if you can't recognize that, you're going to burn yourself out, you're going to feel inner turmoil, and you're going to stay in a situation for a prolonged period of time that you should have exited a long time ago. So the most important thing out of all of this is to know how to recognize a bad leader so you can make a decision that's best for you. Number one, again, this is my perspective on what I've experienced. A bad leader is often threatened if they are not the most well-informed person in the room. You can identify this. If you are in an environment and you have a bad leader who feels threatened if they're not the most informed or the smartest person in the room, it's pretty easy to see. They're going to be overly engaging. They're going to ask tons of questions. They're going to talk more than they listen. They're going to challenge everything that they hear. Some of that stuff is normal. Some of that stuff is okay. But if it is relentless and people who are absolute experts in a field or a topic are constantly being challenged and questioned, but it doesn't seem that it's going in a direction, that individual is going to feel threatened. Maybe not directly threatened, but they're going to feel insecure enough to where they have to challenge everything that comes up. That's one thing that you can look for that is a sign of a bad leader. And that goes into the second aspect of it, which is whether it's in a meeting environment, it's an informal environment, whatever it might be, if they feel the need to comment and engage on every topic all of the time, over and over again, and they need to be part of the conversation as opposed to letting two other individuals or other parties in that group have their own conversation at an elevated level and they have to continually bring that down or bring it back to them, that is another characteristic. One of the things that I've seen, which is my third characteristic of a bad leader, is someone who constantly has to promote transparency or participation or debate. Typically, a good leader will say that once or twice when they take over a new position or a new command, that they want that feedback. They want to be challenged. They want transparency. They want to debate. That's okay. The reason that bad leaders constantly have to ask for transparency, debate, or engagement is because they've already established a culture where people do not feel empowered to engage. Maybe it's fear. Maybe they're concerned about retaliation. It happens all the time. You have a different opinion than me, and you are well-versed in your background, and you're making me look bad publicly, but I'm the man, I am the leader, you're supposed to follow me. I'm now threatened. I'm going to exit that individual. You will no longer be on my team. Happens all the time. So when leaders constantly have to ask you to engage, it typically means they've already set a bad culture and now you're victim to it, and they're trying to promote it to sound altruistic, but in reality, they've already created a culture where people are not bought into the vision and they don't feel empowered and they don't feel safe. The last thing to look for in bad leadership is poor communication. And that goes two ways: how they communicate to you and how they engage with what you say. So let's start with that. If you work for someone who has a hard time listening more than they speak, they've already made up their mind. They don't value your input. They're a bad leader. Good leaders will listen, they will consume, they will process, digest, and they will use that to make an informed decision. A perfect example of this, which you will see at entry-level parts of an organization all the way up to the top, is every situation has multiple sides to it. And let's keep it simple and just say that there's two sides to an argument. A bad leader will get the opinion of what happened from one of their trusted advisors and make a decision based on that. They will not engage with the other party or the other people to get their perspective because they have no interest in it. That is an example of poor communication. If a leader cannot take in all different angles or all different perspectives on a topic before committing, that is a sign of a bad leader. In regards to communicating out, bad leaders tend to not be forthright. They tend to not be genuine. And you can see this a lot. I don't want to pick on politicians because not all of them are bad, but you've seen this firsthand, I guarantee it. When you are talking to someone and you feel that you are not getting a direct answer, or they are just rambling about random topics or stuff to move on to the next question or the next topic, that is bad communication. When you ask a leader a question, if they are putting themselves into a position where they want you to engage and ask a question so that they can be forthright, awesome. That's great. You put yourself in that town hall, you're having that debate, own it. They need to be honest. If you ask a hard question, it is their responsibility to give you a direct, genuine, and transparent response, not take you down some tangential road that doesn't matter. One of the things that you'll see this on all the time is political debates, or in a work setting, these open town halls. Especially in this economy, people are concerned about their jobs, they're concerned about their pay. If an individual is participating in that setting and they ask the hard question that you set yourself up for around, is my job safe with everything that's going on in the economy, and they cannot give you a forthright answer, that's going to show weakness. That's going to show a lack of leadership. You might not like the answer, and obviously they can't be completely honest about what may or may not happen. But if it is a hard time and they're in that situation, it is their responsibility to come back and say, yes, it is a very challenging time in the economy for us right now. People will be impacted if things don't change. We don't know the magnitude of it yet, but we know that something's going to occur. That would be a direct answer that at least addresses the concern that's there. You're being transparent, genuine, and forthright. You're not coming back and putting them down into something that is just completely ambiguous, that has no value to what they just talked about. So the things to look for to determine if you could be involved with a bad leader or a weak leader is: one, do they seem to be threatened when they're not the most informed or the smartest person in the room? Two, are they overly engaging? Leaders do not usually get involved in finite detail. They trust their teams, they trust their advisors, and they're the ones that need to make the hard, informed decision. The third is if they constantly have to ask for engagement, transparency, debate, or to be challenged. If they have to do that, they've already created a culture of fear or lack of empowerment. And the last one is communication. If they're speaking to you, do you get the impression that they are forthright, they are transparent, and they are genuine? And when you talk to them, can they listen without interrupting and being overly engaging and feeling that they need to educate as opposed to be educated? Those are things you can look for to find a bad leader. Now, what do we do with all the information we just talked about? The good news is that anyone who's researching leadership is already better down the road than a bad leader, because bad leaders do not care if they are perceived as a bad leader. So awesome if you are already making that investment into yourself and into your future. But there's 3 evolutions that everyone's going to make when it comes to leadership. And again, this applies to everything. The first is observation. You are not going to be a strong, inspirational leader right out of the gate. So when you break into a new setting, a new job, whatever it might be, your role, knowing that you want to be a good leader, is to observe. How do people interact? What is good? What is bad? What motivates you? What demotivates you? Have you heard things that are inspiring? It's all about observing what seems to get people to respond favorably to their current environment. So that's the first part, or the first evolution of leadership, is observe. Figure out what matters to you and how you like to work and what seems to inspire those around you in the setting that you're in. Observe, learn, document, take notes. Because that feeds into the second part, which is really about formalizing. Develop a philosophy. And I don't say that lightly. I take it so seriously that I actually have a leadership philosophy that I have written, I've published, and I update when I get new experiences that change my optics on the world or the people that I work with or the industry that I serve. Document it. Doesn't have to be beautiful to start, but capture what matters to you and constantly challenge it until you look at it and say, yeah, that's it. If I worked in that environment, I would feel pretty good. And it doesn't have to be all-inclusive. You're not going to capture everything, but have something documented. That's your second evolution. You've observed, you've learned, you've created an opinion, and now you've formalized a leadership philosophy. The last evolution of this, and this is where you are in a position where leadership is expected. You are tenured, you've done repetitions of whatever it is that this applies to, and now people look to you for answers. So in this stage, what you need to do is share your philosophy and hold people accountable to it, and make them hold you accountable to your leadership philosophy as well. Observe, formalize, publish it, and be accountable to it. Those are the things you need to focus on to be a good leader. And there's a lot of things out there that I want to address real quick. You're going to see a lot of content, whether it's in social media or people selling classes and things like that around leadership. And some of it is good, but there's a lot of misnomers to it. One of the things that I hate the most is that the words that you use, in that your charisma is going to determine if you are a capable leader or not. That is absolutely incorrect. Does it make it a little bit more fun and more engaging, easier for people to follow? Yeah, absolutely. But that doesn't make a good leader. What I will say, don't worry about your mannerisms or how you present yourself, but if you don't have conviction, nobody will follow you. So you don't have to be the most affluent individual in the room. You don't need to have this awesome lexicon of vocabulary to really drop on people so that they can say, wow, they're inspirational. They're an awesome public speaker. Doesn't matter. You'll hear a lot of this stuff saying, don't say amazing, don't say don't say in my opinion. All of that is irrelevant. I have seen amazing leaders who are not strong speakers, but when they speak, there is a conviction behind their words to where you believe what they're saying because they believe it. When you speak or present, it's all about conviction. Because if you don't speak with conviction, no one's going to believe you, nor are they going to believe where you're trying to get them to go. So if you are not ready to display or present content to anybody that you are not convicted of, you are not ready to share it. Do more research, become more comfortable, and then do it. But if you cannot do it with authority and conviction and passion and pride, you're just not ready yet. And there are individuals who never get comfortable with that. I've known some amazing people who are the most technically capable individuals I've ever come across, but they're so clouded with self-doubt, they cannot present their content with conviction. And because of that, they get challenged. And unfortunately, they're just not going to have those opportunities. Leadership isn't going to be for everyone. Doesn't mean that we're not all leaders to a certain extent or within our certain groups, but you know when you're with your friends or your family or your closest confidants at work, you speak different. You have no problem complaining. You have no problem sharing your opinions because you have a degree of confidence and you don't feel judged. You're going to have to get out of that if you want to talk to people you don't know and convince them to follow you. And it's okay if you don't. But that is the number one thing that I hear that is wrong, is that you need to use certain words and grammar and mannerisms and all these kind of things. No. Conviction. Speak with conviction and passion to your topic. And until you are ready to do that, don't put yourself in that situation. Earlier in my career, I had an opportunity to engage with people in leadership for, I would say, highly severe responsibilities. Nuclear submarine commanders, high-ranking military officials, and things like that. The way they look at leadership is beyond reproach. They have to have conviction. They have to have a set of standards. They need to have their beliefs and disciplines, and they are all about accountability, because when you think about some of those roles and responsibilities that people have when there's other individuals at stake or there's geopolitical issues that are at stake, there is no room for doubt. So I had an opportunity to engage with some of them when I was much younger in my career, and that changed the way that I looked at leadership. And I took some of those philosophies. I've had opportunities to go through a lot of really cool formal training, some of it from ex-military, some of it from more motivational type speakers. And it got me to where I'm at today in regards to my philosophy and what I believe. So we're all going to get there different. But the thing that I want everyone here to have is that leadership matters. It really does. And we are living in a society and we are living in a business atmosphere where it seems that a lot of those beliefs are starting to decay. So know what a good leader is. Know how to identify a bad leader. Start creating your journey and be accountable to it. And if you do that, you'll have a better professional environment. Your personal life will improve. And when enough people start to spread and become contagious with leadership and how to engage with each other and how to drive motivation and belief, society changes, our culture changes, and it's for the better. Because right now, you cannot operate in an environment where no one is on the same page and people don't believe in each other. So I appreciate you all listening to this. I would love to hear your comments or questions below. But until next time, later.
Mind control, come let the revolution take its toll.